Welcome back to Last of Us Part 2. I would like to address something that Shiroi said in the previous part I didn't get around to addressing. Last part, Shiroi, when Owen was asking, why are you doing this? You suggest, well, they did save her life. And that is true. That is true. Yara and Lev did save her from getting killed by the other Scars. That is true. But at the same time, Yara did do that, whatever she did to the arm on that night. And like Jova said, she, unlike what Neil would have us believe, she's not exactly the the nicest of people. So I still find it very unbelievable that she would go this out of her way just to help two random strangers. This honestly, I can kind of accept. Hold on, this is dancing cats. Hold on.
Yeah, someone loved cats.
Yeah, Shiroi. Shiroi. According to Lev, you're weird.
For being a cat person.
Yes.
Wait, dancing. If it were dancing cats, I thought they'd be talking about Andrew Lloyd Webber or whoever made, or the guy who made the book that Cats is based on.
Or the Cats Don't Dance movie.
You think that's bad? Oh yeah, good old Cats Don't Dance. Definitely an underrated classic.
Yeah, well, that picture showed us bullshit, Joe. The cats do dance.
Anyway, no, for me it's one of those things where I can kind of accept that first night where she did carry Yara to that trailer and then put that thing on her arm and then left them.
They literally saved her in the very moment, so that's fine.
So that I can accept, but this, and trust me, this is not even the end of it. Trust me, there's going to be a lot more of Abby completely going out of her way to risk her life to save these two people. And I find it completely unbelievable and unearned.
Let me put it like this. The only consistent thing about Abby's character is that she acts on impulses, even when it comes to sex. Like, that is literally the only consistent thing about her character.
To give you an idea, Shiroi, at two separate opportunities, both Yara and Lev ask her, why are you helping us? You don't know always anything. And she never really comes up with a satisfactory answer. She just goes, I don't know, I just need to lighten the load a bit. What do you mean lighten the load a bit? If you need to lighten the load,
what does that have to do with anything? I don't understand.
I don't understand you, game. I don't understand you.
Like, I'm sorry, but at this point, Abby is pretty much just a thug who acts on impulses. She doesn't think things through. She just does stuff on a whim, and we'll be damned how much it ruins the plot for it.
It's just how in the Ellie's campaign, where Dina asks Ellie, it's kind of weird that they would just let you and Tommy alive and only kill Joel. Why didn't they kill just you? Why didn't they kill you too? And Elliot even shuts her up by saying, it doesn't matter, let's just go. Like, the same thing here. Neil, Liam is literally telling us, don't think about it, just go.
Just go with it.
Don't pay attention to the man behind the curtain.
Proxy, wiki...
Whatever, I don't care. Moving on.
Yeah, Lev, there's a much more pragmatic way to go around rather than risking life and limb.
Pass along. The elders have agreed to a truce with the wolves. They will stay away from our island and we won't engage with any Seraphites passing through their outer territories. To maintain this peace, we must all work together. Our goals remain the same. These are simply different means to achieve them.
This is a reference to an earlier the path, because earlier during Abby's campaign they did mention this, but basically the wolves broke that pact by killing a few children.
Yep, that's right.
It's to show how everyone except Abby is an evil bastard.
Very good, Wibs. See, you're starting to understand this game's logic.
It's like how I said, even the
Abby doesn't kill children.
Exactly. She's way above that.
Wow, they built a ladder system in the bathroom. How intelligent.
Stop saying we, since they're trying to kill you.
Don't you see? Not all of us are like that. Don't generalize, man.
Well, actually, she was talking about the Seraphites, to be fair. So.
That's what I was joking about.
Oh, here you go. Pay attention here. This is where it gets brought up. And there we go.
Oh, you just got... Well, okay, so
you
probably...
stupid fucking game.
Okay. To be Okay, to be fair, are these the bad guys that we're facing right now?
Yeah, they are. They are.
Bad guy is
they're trying to kill Lev for exactly what you're thinking right now. Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
I mean, I can see why the bad guys would be doing that because they're the villains. They're not meant to be.
Yeah, because I think Pedro did bring up earlier that they did call him an abomination or something.
They did. They did. Yeah.
So this is like maliciousness on their part.
Basically, folks, here's the plot twist. Lev is a trans boy.
Yes.
A trans man, or
No, you were right the first time.
Well, I mean, you can apply both trans male, trans boy.
Well, both boy and man apply to the male gender anyway, so it still works regardless. Like, eventually, when he grows up into an adult, he will be a trans man. So technically, both Jova's things are not at all.
They were both right. So yeah.
Regardless, he's trans. And you did, in fact, just hear them dead name him. Now, again, we will admit, these are the bad guys. Here's the main problem with this character. In a story that is supposed to be about the cycle of vengeance...
Suddenly, transphobia now, for some reason. Like, because this is totally needed.
Not only that, but literally, all the bad stuff that happens to this boy is because he's trans. Which means we have a wonderful case of essentially shock value.
Oh, listen here. This is actually good. They're actually going to address that in a moment. So, hold on.
All right, let's hear this.
Did you hear what they called me? Yeah. Do you want to ask me about it? Do you want me to ask you about it? No.
Okay. See, Abby's so wonderful. She literally asks him. She will only mention it if he approves it. See, that's how wonderful Abby is. See, Abby doesn't care about it. She's fine either way. That's how wholesome she is.
An angel. Yeah, Abby is such an angel. It doesn't matter whether you're size, trans, pan,
whatever.
Whatever ones aren't coming to mind right now.
Whatever you want to be, just be it.
Abby will love you no matter who you are.
Exactly.
Unless you're Joel.
It's funny you mention that. There's a famous comic where the Joker says that he may be a criminal, but he's an American criminal, which means the Joker is against Nazism. So yes, even the Joker has standards, but he's still the Joker. He kills non-discriminately.
Depends on...
And Abby's a bitch.
Depends on which incarnation of the Joker you're talking about, but yes, basically. In general.
Well, the overall ideal of the Joker. And
Sure.
These bad guys come off as those internet commenters come to life.
Most of the time, the Joker just wants to fuck around and just do whatever makes him have fun, basically.
The type, those internet commenters that I've mentioned to the guys, I see those types of bullshit comments everywhere in the build-up to the release of this game.
All right.
But Dwibs does have a bit of a point, though. The Seraphites are painted as, again, the cartoonishly bad guys of this thing, and they feel so out of place. Again, I'm not going to say that it's impossible that there be racist, bigots, or transphobic folk. But, again, for the entire group to be like this, I get it. They're a religious cult, but something about it feels
maybe that's
out of place.
Maybe that's what Yara and Lev are for. Yara and Lev are supposed to be the ones that demonstrate that even that group can have its good apples.
Yeah, shame that they're the only two good ones we see.
Well, to be fair,
there are those nutcases that use religion as an excuse for transphobia.
No one's saying otherwise, Webs. It's most of the fact that Joba, how many would be the minimum number for you? Because I think 2 is fair enough for me.
Yeah, okay. You know what? Fine enough, 2. But that's not even my major issue. Like I said before, the problem is that most of this is all just for shock value.
Yeah, exactly.
For all the terrible stuff that happens to Yara and Lev because Lev is trans.
Hold on. There's a prophet.
Which is why I basically said stupid fucking game, because these are the bad guys doing it, but this is out of place.
She's now
completely.
She's now. I think she's not going to mention how they're misconstruing her writings. If I remember correctly, it's in this part.
What's cool? Like impressive.
It's a figure of speech.
Yeah, he doesn't know cool.
Get it? Because the religious cult...
Oh, here you go. Here you go. Here you go.
She saved dozens of people in ways no one can explain. She blew up trucks and killed some soldiers. Not that hard to explain. Have you read her writings? Skimmed some. You'd benefit from it. Sure.
Yeah, sure. I'm not gonna.
I gotta say, the Sontarans did the whole not knowing what cool means joke better in an episode of Doctor Who.
I'm not even.
I also agree with you that a couple of people, being out of place in amongst, a heavily indoctrinated religious cult seems pretty realistic, honestly.
No.
It would be a small number of people, for sure.
Sure, and I don't know, the main issue here, like Shira was about to bring up, is the fact that there's literally no reason to make Lev a trans person. Not that I'm against that, it's just that the story doesn't really revolve around it. There's no focus. It's just there so that we have an excuse to have the Seraphites hate him and try to kill him and all that shit. It's literally just there as
they're using his transness as a pawn for why we should hate this particular group of people, and it's pretty gross.
Here's an idea. Why not just have them?
Even worse.
Why not just have them be defectors? Defection alone would suffice.
Exactly.
Not only that's right, but it's also used as a cheap means to try and get us to like Abby. Because, see, Abby is above all that stuff.
Exactly.
Again, even a
we don't know that Ellie's not. We've never seen Ellie interact with somebody we've been told is trans.
Shiroi, remember Shiroi, Ellie killed a doggo, so most likely she would kill Lev too.
But yeah. Okay, look. Overall, here's the thing. Like I said before, this should have been more of a daily slice of life sort of thing where we see how the world is in general. Then I'd probably be more okay with this whole religious cult thing, because it would have been something that actually benefited to the overall arc of the game, showing off how the world has come. But because that's not the overarching theme of the game, it just feels like out-of-place nonsense.
Exactly.
Like I said before, during Ellie's campaign, the Seraphites were just padding. During Abby's campaign, there are cheap means of trying to get, brownie points for Abby, because she stands up for the trans boy.
I agree.
It's exactly that. It's exactly that. Again, Neil cannot actually make us care for Abby by making her an interesting, complex person like he did for Joel. So instead, what does he do? He makes her the nicest person that was ever born in the world. She saves trans people. She trains doggos. She
doesn't kill doggos.
She doesn't kill doggos. She goes out of her way. She goes completely out of her way to save two strangers from an enemy faction she's been fighting for 4 years just because she's that wholesome.
Heck, she went back to get them.
That's when you know the writer has no idea how to make people like this character. So his only weapon is by making the person this completely unrealistic, super nice person that would never exist in the real world.
Okay. You know what? For the sake of argument, I could see somebody like this existing in the real world. What I don't buy it. Hold on. Let me finish. What I don't buy is Abby's complete 180 of character development. Like, if she were established as this kind of character from the get-go, or at the very least we saw hints of it from the get-go, I could maybe buy it more. But no, we never saw any hints of it whatsoever. Hell, we didn't even see hints of it during the first third of her maybe not the first third, but the first quarter of her campaign. We didn't see hints of her being this supposedly selfless. Seriously, I don't think we've seen her go this much to bat for fellow WLF members as much as she does for these two random Seraphite members who are defectors of a group that she has pretty much stated blatantly that she hates. Now, don't get me wrong. Yes, they did help her out that one time, but Abby, like I said, for the most part, acted more on the pragmatic level, unless stuff was more for her selfishly. And yet now all of a sudden she's this good Samaritan out of nowhere. Screw off with that narrative. She's not
also
Superman.
The dreams much. I mean,
oh yeah.
She saved these two people. She left them there because she thought that was the end of it. And suddenly she's having very grim nightmares about the fact that she left them behind. That's just... I don't know much about dream psychology.
We're supposed to... Go ahead, Whips.
But guys, don't you know? Everyone has those. Like just the other day, I had a nightmare because this random bloke I walked past in the street for that one time. I don't know. I had a horrible nightmare of him doing a horrible dance in front of my eyes. That's normal, right?
Yeah,
but
it's also it's one of those things where the game does not know how to basically accomplish this in a way that's believable. You know, to answer your question, Shiroi, what we're supposed to get from that dream of that she had about Yara and Lev being hung is that she feels guilty for leaving them there because and she's worried about them again. But again, like I said, why are you going this out of your way for two people you do not know?
And let's be honest, them saving her was more out of pragmatism, and it was more a case of,
they needed her.
That Yara, well, not only that, it just happened that Yara fighting back was what gave Abby the means to eventually get herself down from that rope. And yeah, they needed a +1 essentially because Yara was pretty hurt badly.
So in order to get Lev out of there, Yara basically see if she could get that person to become an ally temporarily.
There's nothing saying that in any other circumstance they probably would have left her. And I'm not saying that Yara and Lev are automatically bad people, but remember what universe we're in. This isn't a universe where you can just blatantly trust everyone you come by. There are some people who will kill and eat you, for Christ's sake.
But we're going out of our way to ransack a hospital.
Which is why Joel's death was fucking stupid. And allow me to remind you, Joba, since you brought that up. And guess what? The first game understood this. Remember how things went in the first game? Where Harry, after pulling Sam up, and then the ladder broke... and the tank was about to come in and start shooting, Harry took Sam's hand and just basically abandoned Joel and Ellie. And later, when Joel was confronting him about Harry brought up the very fair point, coming back for you would have put him at risk. You know, Obviously Harry is not going to put the lives of two strangers at the time for his little brother. That doesn't make any sense. Obviously, if given a choice, he's going to choose his brother because, that's...
And consider this, Abby. You may have put Mel and Owen in danger by bringing back two Seraphites who are being hunted down.
Yeah, what do you think Isaac is going to think when he hears of this? Yeah, what do you think Isaac is going to do when he hears of this?
Yeah. And but that's the thing. Those were two brothers. Abby has the weight of a whole organization of a safe haven of people that could possibly hinge on her actions. But maybe if we just for once saw Abby think about her actions before acting on them. And no, just that little shot of her in bed with Owen does not count as her thinking stuff out. That was just her waking up from the nightmare. Hell, if anything, this just leads credence to the fact that she somehow feels guilty, and that's literally the only reason she came back for them. Not on some noble intentions or whatnot. And may I remind you, even though Joel wasn't the most noble person, his actions at the end were at least justified with the fact that he and Ellie have gotten to know each other quite well.
They've become They've become surrogate parent and daughter, basically.
Whereas with these two, Abby is like, hey, I just met you. This is crazy. Here's not my number, but I'll call you maybe. Essentially.
Exactly.
So, okay, so enough about Abby. Let's talk about Lev here. Like I said before, Lev's kind of useless. Not so much gameplay-wise, but story-wise. He is essentially one of those tortured and victimized characters who constantly has bad stuff happen to him, get the audience to cry, so Abby can come in and save him, yada yada yada.
Yeah, basically.
Narratively speaking. I mean, gameplay-wise, he's fine. But again, like, at this point, gameplay can pretty much be summed as is fine, if not a bit repetitive.
Mm-hmm. Again, it's one of it's the game completely misunderstands. Regardless of what you may think of that, the truth of the matter is that this is human nature. People will not suddenly care about a random stranger they just met, and not to this extent. Definitely, they may still do something if they see a random stranger get assaulted, maybe because just out of a basic sense of morality that but they won't go completely out of their way to risk their life for a person that they don't know. Sorry, that's not how humans work.
And okay, let's say there is somebody like that in a universe like this. That's an even tougher buy. It's tough enough in the real world where, we don't have a flipping apocalypse where people can get infected. Well, okay, we kind of have something like that minus the apocalypse, but I digress. Even in the real world, that's a tough enough buy. Mm-hmm. Maybe some people are that good, but in a universe where you can pretty much turn into a zombie, or there are factions of people who have gone straight up cannibal, you're not going to tell me that it's impossible that it could literally just be bait for a trap. And I get it, that's cynical thinking, but this is a cynical world.
Exactly. I mean, Herschel Lytton is portrayed as a saint in his games, but that's because the Lytton universe is supposed to be grounded in reality. It's meant to be a more lighthearted fantasy type of universe. That's where the characters are more how should I put this, larger than life, if that makes any sense.
It's weird, really. When you think about it, this game has like two different tones. For Ellie's tone, it's just deep, dark, depressing, a descent. Whereas Abby's feels like something that's trying to be idealistic and optimistic, ironically. Mind you, for the wrong reasons, but that's what it feels like. Almost makes the plot feel like it has schizophrenia.
It's the David Cage method, Jova. How do I make people like the character I want them to like? Simple. I just make everybody else an asshole.
Hell, even Lev has that one kind of dickish moment too.
It's one of the best examples of lazy writing. The writer just makes everybody else an asshole, so you have no choice but to side with the character the writer wants you to side with.
Except the problem is that they made Abby an asshole way too much. Like, that's the thing. Even with as much as the game tries to shield Abby, people still hate her, and not just for the creator's pet mentality, but for the fact that she has done pretty dastardly things and never gets called out on it, except for with Ellie, but again, the game paints Ellie as the bad guy, so nobody really with sense calls Abby out with it. At least nobody that the game expects us to side with when they call Abby out on it.
The narrative really wants us to like Abby, but they burnt that bridge very early on.
And they have not done a good job trying to mend it either. The closest we get to somebody the game wants us to side with is Owen. But as I said, Owen is spineless and pretty much goes through with all of Abby's demands. And, well, by the time Abby's campaign will catch up with the present, Owen's dead.
Look at that, guys. Lev just swore for the first time.
Oh, wow. How nice.
Wow, what a potty mouth that guy is.
Well, that's
kind of the theme, Pedro. And if that was meant to be a shocking moment,
no, it wasn't.
Young lad sweared, but everyone else has been swearing the whole game.
To be fair, it wasn't meant to be like that. It was meant to be that Lev heard her swear, and he said, "Yeah, fuck him." And then I was like, "Wow, I never heard a Seraphite swear." And he's like, "Yeah, that was my first time." So it's gotten to a point where he's so rejected his teachings that he's even swearing, basically. So it's kind of part of the whole thing. Where, not to mention, it's supposedly part of the quote-unquote character development between these two, I guess.
And this brings me to another issue. Yes, we know that the Seraphites are basically evil, but we don't actually know the Seraphites to the core values. So this whole supposed development of Lev growing out of being a Seraphite doesn't really ring that true. It's like, hey, game, we're already trying to work on developing Abby's character.
Basically, Joe, I'm about to show off a little draw distance bug that I found in this playthrough.
Goody.
Let's see what's in here. I'm already full of that. Never mind. It's after the elevator. Okay.
Well, anyway,
okay, lesson number 1. Do not take an elevator during an emergency. Have you seen what happened to the scientists in Half-Life that tried to do that?
Sure that. Well, you've played Half-Life.
Unfortunately, we don't have much choice. So.
Yeah, seriously, what happened... Okay, for those who don't know, what happens in that scene... Well, you play the whole game even. So what happens is Gordon's trying to escape after the resonance cascade just happened. And obviously, as a result of that, everything's really unstable, including the lifts. And upon Gordon pressing the button to summon the lift, the cable breaks and the lift falls down to the ground and kills everyone inside it.
Oops. But yeah, like I was saying earlier, here's the problem. Now all of a sudden there's this arc about Lev growing out of being a Seraphite, only outside of the whole religious crazy cult, we don't know too much about the Seraphite life, so Lev's development there doesn't really ring or resonate much, at least if you were to ask me.
Again, I refuse... Oh, okay. There you go. Basically... Oh, yeah, I forgot about this. Basically, Abby has one thing that she's afraid of. Heights. So obviously she's not feeling exactly comfortable by going so up in this building and going for the bridges. However, Lev is trying to comfort her by saying, look, try to use this mantra that we usually use. Only when weak may I carry my true strength.
So there you are. That's what Ellie should do to get away from Abby when we get back to that bit. Just run to the lift. Or run up the stairs and go up to the very top, and Abby will be so scared because of the heights that she won't be able to concentrate properly, and then Ellie can throw her from the roof.
Unfortunately, Dibs, Ellie is not aware that Abby is afraid of heights. So,
like, the whole Abby being afraid of heights and doesn't even really factor that much into
it's just an excuse.
It's to show that Abby is not perfect.
Not just that. It also serves as an excuse for padding, as I'm going to demonstrate in the next part. But anyway, before we end this part, check out that little green thing in the background.
Whoa!
Basically, hold on. So, I'm trying to figure it out. There you go. If I stand here, it disappears. But if I move, it reappears. But I go back to the spot, and it disappears again.
Shouldn't it appear the closer you move to it? This isn't how it should work.
So basically, I found a glitch.
Wow.
Okay, to be fair, this glitch doesn't ruin anything. It's more funny than anything else.
I mean, it's kind of immersion breaking a bit.
It is, but it doesn't happen during the cutscene or anything. So personally, I'm okay with this. It's more funny than anything to me. If anything, it was one of the few legitimately amusing moments in this game for me. So I'll take it.
Yeah, it was funny.
But yeah, I refuse. That's the thing, Jova. Because of everything that you just said, Jova, I refuse to call these things character arcs because this literally fails. Like I refuse to call these things character arcs. They're not character arcs. I don't know what to call them, but they're not character arcs.
I think the best way to put it is like, well, it feels like they had all these different plots for different games and just massed them in. Whereas, like, okay, Lev's whole character arc feels like something that should have been its own game. Abby's character arc feels like something that should have been its own game. Ellie's Quest for Vengeance is ironically the one thing that feels like it could have taken up, like, say, the last third of a game, mind you, and yet that one is stretched and padded out.
Speaking of padding out, tune in next time, everybody.
See you then.
See ya.